Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another video. Yes, it's a Polaroid video. No, I don't have a problem. Please stop judging me. In this video, I'm going to try something that I haven't seen anyone do. Nobody covering Polaroids, nobody making videos about general photography, blogs, no one. And that is going to be shooting iType Polaroid film in a classic Polaroid 600 camera. And another one that will be sort of the icing on the cake for this video. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Polaroid cameras or photography, you're probably wondering why iType film being shot in a classic Polaroid is such a weird thing. And let me explain. So if you ever go to buy Polaroid, you'll be presented with, well, a lot of special editions, but you'll be presented primarily with two boxes, a blue box and a yellow box. One saying iType color film or black and white, and another saying color 600 film or black and white. And at first glance, other than the name and the fact that this one says not for vintage cameras, there really doesn't seem to be anything different. You look at it and the ASA is the same, it's 640, which is the sensitivity of the film. The dimensions of the film, both in thickness and in size, are identical. Development time is the same. And the only thing on the back that kind of makes you wonder is the fact that this one has the vintage camera X'd out, this one doesn't. But this one works with everything. This only works with iType. Why? One word: battery. So newer iType cameras have an integrated rechargeable battery. This powers the flash, the motors, everything. The older cameras don't. This camera, for example, this is my mom's old Sun 600 Polaroid. This is going to be our test mule, and right now it doesn't have any film in it, and if I pop it open and press the shutter, nothing happens. However, you'll notice that when I take a seemingly empty cartridge and pop it in and close it, the camera comes to life, and now everything works. That's because while the iTypes have integrated batteries that you can recharge in the camera, the battery was actually built in to these film cartridges. So that's the primary difference between the iType and the 600. These still have the batteries to run the old cameras. These don't need that. Well, okay, then just buy these. They have everything you need. Why bother going to all this work? Well, there's two reasons. The first one, I'm cheap. These are cheaper. It might be a little extra work, but it'll save me a couple dollars in the end. Second, there is nothing more infuriating to somebody who likes collecting weird photography memorabilia than to see all of the special edition films that Polaroid's making that are exclusive to iType, while the special edition stuff for the 600 cameras include a sold out yellow film, black and white, the standard, and some summer color borders. I want to be able to shoot film like this, the special edition Mandalorian film. I want to be able to shoot this in whatever camera I want, and I actually have a really cool plan for this at the end of the video, so stick around to the end to see what I do with this. But before we get into that, and before I overcomplicate things, I need to see if my harebrained idea actually works. So we're going to take this iType film into a dark bag with a dark slide and pop it in to one of these battery packs that I've had lying around for a couple months now, and see if it will actually work. So, I mean, we're gonna have to move the camera, but let's go do it. Alrighty, welcome to my desk pre-experiment, and what I'm gonna do here is show you what I'll be doing inside the dark bag, but I'm gonna be doing it outside the dark bag so you know what I'm doing. And I've got the three things I'm gonna be working with here, which is the dark slide, the film, and the cartridge. And there'll be two of these cartridges in there. One of them is going to be this one, which will give me the two contacts, which has the battery, so I can use it in the older cameras. The other one's going to be the iType one, which, as far as I know, doesn't have any of this on the bottom, so that should be the only difference. And I'm going to take this film and I'm actually going to slide it all out of this iType back when I'm in the dark bag. After it's all slid out, I won't need the iType cartridge anymore, and what I'll then do is take the unexposed film, and ever so gently, I'm going to have to slide it into the new cartridge like this. And once it's in, I should be able to push it to the back. And maybe... yes, like that. Once they're all loaded in, this is the important part. So once everything's loaded in like this, the film would still be exposed to light. So that's where you take these dark slides and you simply slide it in over top of all of that. And boom. So now this is actually safe to just hold out in the light, and when you're ready, drop it into the camera. So with that, let's get into actually doing this. God, I'm so nervous. First piece of film. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I've never felt one of the Polaroid films with the die pack still full. It's actually a bit thicker. Whoa. Never realized that. I mean, it makes sense, but that's so cool. I had actually never seen an iType cartridge, like with film and everything, so I kind of just realized I popped it open. Even when I didn't need to, I popped one of the pieces off before I needed to. Okay, now this is... Okay, I think I found the right side. Okay, I'm onto the dark slide now. Oh, damn it. I think it's catching on the top of the film. Oh, man, oh, man. Oh, no, it popped out. No, don't pop out, don't pop out. Get under the thing. Oh! I think we did it. Okay, I think we did it. Okay, well, it is moment of truth time. Make sure I put that in the right orientation. Yeah, I did. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't mess that up. I was struggling with the little notch on the card and which side it went on. Moment of truth. Now we see if I've just burned a pack of film. Here we go. Keep your friends close and your Polaroid film in the fridge. That's all it had to say to me. All right, now for the true test. Let's see if this works. Spit it out. I guess now we'll see what happens. Okay, so literally the only difference is the 2 contact points on the bottom versus none. And this is a lot lighter as a result because there's no battery underneath to power anything. So this weighs more than this by a considerable amount. Now it's time to test it. So I've got this little like setup here, and I'm gonna just take a picture of that and test and see, because it's not the most well lit right now, but I have the flash. So we're gonna see if it works. It spit it out. It spit it out. So now, oh no, it left a streak down the middle though. Oh no, this camera did that. So that, I didn't think about that. I might have a streak down the middle of a lot of these because this is my test mule camera that leaves streak. Oh well, whatever. If it worked, I'm gonna be happy. So I'm over the freaking moon right now. This worked perfectly. I have a fully developed picture out of my Polaroid Sun 600, and it was originally packaged in an iType camera or an iType film pack. I'm still struggling over my words right now because I'm so excited that it actually worked, because this means that I can do something that I've really wanted to do, and I'm really hoping that it looks and comes out as good as I think it will. So I mentioned earlier in the video that I bought the Mandalorian Edition Polaroid film, which is an iType exclusive, and I don't know if it's marketing or actually different chemistry, but the pictures that come off of this for the marketing that they show look very soft, very warm. They have a much brighter tone to them. Maybe that's just the marketing and the way they took the pictures, or maybe it's actually something different. I don't know, and even if it is just marketing, you still get the really cool borders with it. But I have a little bit of a different plan in mind for this one. I am still going to be loading it into a camera that requires a battery bank, but it's not going to be a 600 camera. I'm going to be loading this film into my favorite Polaroid camera, the SX70. Now, if you guys have watched any of my previous videos, that is, oh, I love it. If you guys have watched any of my previous videos about this camera, you'll know that this does not even use 600 speed film. It uses an entirely different kind of film specific to this camera. So on top of the steps of taking this film out and swapping it into a 600 compatible battery pack, there's another step that's easier, but still something that's gonna maybe add to the challenge or the look. I don't know yet. For that specific camera, Polaroid makes an ND filter for the film pack. It's sort of like a pair of sunglasses for the film. You put this over top and it will actually block out the light, basically bringing this down to the brightness that you would need to actually expose 600 film in one of those slower Polaroids. So on top of already changing an entire 8-pack of film onto a completely different cartridge and putting the dark slide on, I am also going to have to add the ND filter. But why am I going to all this trouble? Because the images you can get out of this camera are incredible. You can get close enough, up to 10 inches, to get a beautiful blurred out depth of field. This is a glass lens, so it renders images beautifully. So if the film is actually different chemistry with a warmer tone to it, perhaps having a cover over it to make it a bit darker, and adding to that the beautifully well-crafted glass lens of this camera, maybe it'll be good. So I'm gonna go swap that. It's gonna probably be a few days before the shoot, but for you guys it'll be a couple seconds. So I'm gonna go swap the film out of this Polaroid pack for The Mandalorian into something that can be used in this, put the ND filter on it, and then you'll join me in a few days for a photo shoot. Operation successful. Now it's time to take this puppy out and do some shooting, which for you will be like in the next cut, and for me will be like 2 days.
3 days later.
All right, so it's finally shooting day for me. So for you, it's been like 1 cut. For me, it's been like 3 days. But yeah, we're finally here with the SX70 burning through the last of the Star Wars film. I actually bought another pack and did another swap. So we have 16 shots instead of just 8. And I bought, that's a bag. Where'd he go? There he is. I got a little friend to help me out. So this is gonna be fun. So after utilizing every square inch of my apartment complex to take a total of 4 pictures, me and my new friend hit the road out into the countryside where the leaves were changing and there was a really bright sky. This would really push this film's dynamic range to the limit. First place I stopped was actually a field behind an abandoned movie theater, and I figured this would also be a good place to try out the iType film I had previously loaded into the 600 camera from earlier in the video, and oddly enough, I actually liked the shots out of the 600 camera more than the shots I got out of my SX70. I don't know what it was, but I feel like the faster shutter speed and the smaller aperture of the 600 camera really helped bring out a lot more detail in both the sky and the ground. And for some reason, the light meter in the SX70 seemed to favor the sky in one shot and the ground in the other, and I couldn't get it to be consistent. Those 2 pictures also happened to be the last shots in the camera, so I took that opportunity to load up a fresh pack of Mandalorian film that I had swapped over into a 600 battery pack this morning, and hit the road for what would hopefully be a more advantageous area to take pictures. Unbeknownst to me, the road I was traveling on would actually end up taking me all the way out to my grandmother's house, so I figured that I'd pay her a visit, and also borrow some parts of her backyard to take some more interesting pictures. The last shot I took out of this pack of film was something I figured would be a little more daring and experimental, and that's a long exposure shot. And I don't know, I think it came out pretty good considering that the Polaroid cameras are notoriously difficult to take long exposure shots with. So after shooting 2 packs of this film in my SX70 and sort of getting my bearings for it, and really only getting 2 shots that I wasn't happy with, I learned, or at least seemed to have come to the conclusion, that the chemistry difference, if there is one, isn't really a dramatic change in the look of the film. It does tend to favor the 3 colors that Polaroid already leans to in different conditions, but it just seems to kind of exaggerate that. For example, this long exposure shot is very green in the shadows, and Polaroids tend to lean towards the green colors in the shadows when you shoot in a darker environment. Not this aggressively, but they do tend to turn a bit green in the cold. This was a cold night, and it turned very green. Another example is the picture I used earlier of Baby Yoda's face while he was sitting in my car seat. His face is a very warm tone with sort of a nice soft roll-off to the colors before it hits the shadows, and Polaroids can get that warm tone, but a lot of times you get a sort of washed out, more neutral look to the shot. And I feel like part of this is probably because of the ND filter, but this is definitely not something I would normally see in a regular 600 pack of film, even with the ND filter on it. This shot, however, I don't know what happened. I guess something happened with the light reflecting off the glass lens at the top of the frame or something, but it has this really cool sort of dark tan to green gradient from bottom to top, and I don't exactly know what happened, but I'm really glad that that happened in the shot. It made it look so cool. There are a few other kind of odd characteristics to this, like this picture here of the basket of balls. You can see that instead of just blowing out the highlights like the regular 600 Polaroid does, it sort of rolls into this softer whitish purple color. Oh, and that's the other color that this film really likes to favor. Purple. Green and purple, and then it warms the tones up a little bit in the highlights. That's the main quality I've noticed with this film. Now, this picture of Baby Yoda here definitely shows that in regular shooting conditions, this film definitely tends to favor purple as the color for things in the mids and the shadows, while, again, warm tones become more prevalent in the highlights. And I really like the way this film renders those colors. It gives it, well, kind of a Star Wars vibe. Another example is this lamp. Like, midtones and darks are just purple. That seems to be the default for this lens. But while the colors in this film do seem to render differently than something like a traditional pack of 600 film, the actual fuzzy softness that I saw in the promotional images isn't something that comes across when I'm shooting through this SX70, and I have a theory on that. Remember, this film is an iType specific film, and there are no iType cameras that have glass lenses. They're all plastic. Yeah, they've got autofocus on one of them, but all the lenses for all the current iType cameras are plastic. On the contrary, my SX70 is a glass lens, like I mentioned earlier, and this means that images are going to render out a lot sharper, and the aperture is wider on that lens as well, so you've got a much better, shallower depth of field. That means that shots like this one really do have a nice blurred out depth of field while the subject still stays in really sharp focus. But with that wider aperture, there is a disadvantage I noticed, which is things like landscape photography become very difficult because the light meter wants to favor whatever's brightest in the shot, which is the sky. And so when you see the sky, it has a really interesting purple to blue gradient up in the corner, but the ground is completely underexposed and all of the detail is lost. There are moments, however, that have their advantages, like this shot, for example, where you see that the sky actually sort of frames the tree while the tree remains in complete shadow. So you win some, you lose some. But that's enough of that, because this video isn't meant to be a review of this film, but I did want to share my experiences because I think that that film is so cool. No, at the end of the day, this video is more of a statement, a request, a beg, a plea to Polaroid to just, please, try making some of these special editions for the 600 and, if you're feeling real froggy, even the SX70 series cameras, because there's still a market for them. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm talking specifically to Polaroid if anybody's listening. You guys have done an amazing job through the Impossible Project, Polaroid Originals, and then Polaroid in bringing back this just classic format of film that I personally love and have a ton of nostalgia for, but people who may have never experienced this before are getting to try out Polaroid for the first time. And I get that that's where the market for iType is, but there are still tons of people like myself who enjoy shooting on things like the SX70, the Polaroid 680, the 600 LMS light management system, fancy, whatever. I'm sure the reason you guys are prioritizing the iType film is because it's the film that works with the cameras you're currently producing, but think about it this way. There are decades worth of 600 film cameras that people have owned for potentially all of those decades who have been through an emotional roller coaster between getting it and feeling the magic of having a piece of film develop in your hand, to the low point of 2008 when Polaroid basically cut production of any instant film, to the reintroduction of Polaroid film and that magic experience again with the Impossible Project, all the way up until now where film is actually very abundant. But it feels like the selection for 600 sort of stands to remind people that their camera is old and that it's limited in its capabilities compared to something like the new iType cameras with the remote app and all that cool stuff. And like, I'm not downplaying these cameras. I think that the fact you're introducing this magical experience of instant photography to an entirely new generation is awesome. But it kind of feels like by putting all of these special editions into the iType cameras and leaving the older cameras to kind of get by with summer colors, sold out yellow, black and white, and color, you're kind of turning your back on the people who have held on to their Polaroids the longest. Especially considering that this video kind of just proved you could do it if you just put that same film into a cartridge that has a battery. I don't know, maybe I'm taking things too personally. Either way, I had a ton of fun making this video. I enjoyed driving around in the beautiful weather, getting a chance to take out my favorite Polaroid cameras, getting a chance to shoot Polaroid in general is always fun, and getting to see what the Mandalorian film was all about, that was really fun too. But either way, that's been the video. Polaroid, I'd actually love to hear from you guys. My email is in the About page of my channel, or you can leave a comment. I think you guys have a YouTube channel, but either way, I really loved doing this. I really hope you guys enjoyed it as well. This is the most work I've put into a video in a long time in terms of production, so hopefully you guys found it enjoyable. Apart from that, if you got any questions, leave some comments. I'd be happy to talk you guys through sort of a more detailed version of the process that I did for this, and subscribe for more content. And that'll be it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.